Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor, the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Mount Pleasant Podcast, presented by Mount Pleasant Magazine. I'm your host, editor Zach Giroux. Today, we're very honored to welcome a special guest, Perry Rourk. Perry, with the Mount Pleasant general election less than a week away, let's chat about your run for election.
Thank you all for having me today, Zach. And of course, probably about 5 years ago, I'm a lifelong resident of Mount Pleasant, by the way. And about 5 years ago, I started saying to myself, how can I give back to my community? What can I do to help my community? And so I started attending council meetings, started going to committee meetings, starting to get to know our elected officials and understanding our town government. Actually helped get a Recreation Advisory Commission, a Citizens Commission formed for the town of Mount Pleasant, chaired that for 2 years. And also worked on a couple of small issues, something a lot of people, as far as public comment time, I actually helped get the public comment time extended for people when they go to council and committee meetings to allow their voices to be heard. So I was just very big on citizen involvement and bringing more citizen input into our town government and working on every way I could to promote that.
Tell us about your background and what motivates you to run for town council.
A little bit about me. I've helped operate and build multiple small and large businesses. As far as that goes, I think a lot of this is leadership. It's about being prepared, listening, taking input, and action at the end of the day. The fact that I've run and built those businesses is giving me a better understanding of building teams, managing teams, and also finishing projects. And that's the key to it as well. And understanding a P&L statement. I mean, the town of Mount Pleasant is a business at the end of the day, and our customer is the residents. So understanding and having a business background certainly helps bring a little bit of experience to the position and gives me a better understanding of what it takes to make sure our town is running efficiently as possible and as fiscally conservative as possible.
What professional skills and qualities of yours would make you most effective council member?
I think my ability to listen, that's number one. Striving to be able to be a person that can listen to both sides of an issue. I won't get set in my ways on my mindset. I'm always going to listen to both sides of an issue, take that into consideration. In the end of the day, vote my conscience and what I think is best for the town and for the people of Mount Pleasant. That's one of the biggest things, is having an open ear, being able to pick up a phone and being able to communicate with my constituents if elected, and being able to be a voice for them and also listening to their voice.
What most significant issues has Mount Pleasant faced in recent years?
Well, I think growth is the biggest thing. We've seen tremendous growth in the town of Mount Pleasant, and most of the people you talk to, their biggest concern, number one, is traffic. So focusing on infrastructure, I think that's something I'd like to get working on immediately. The town is doing a great job in going in that direction, but I want to see road projects like the Billy Swails Parkway extension completed. I think that's one of the biggest things that could help ease some traffic congestion in the town of Mount Pleasant. Intersection improvements. They've got a lot of those on the books that they're coordinating with Charleston County with. And I love to see the funding and progress on those intersection improvements. And the other big thing to me is we don't have any land left to buy to build more roads in the town of Mount Pleasant. And most of our roads that are already widened are already widened. We can't widen Rifle Range Road. We can't widen Long Point Road. So it's about efficiencies at this point. So I'm very big into bringing in any kind of technology, particularly AI technology, whatever technology is out there, for traffic light enhancements and improvements. I think that's going to be one of the keys to helping traffic move faster in the town of Mount Pleasant, is enhancing that. And also intersection improvements are a key, and just let's get these projects on the book finished, and they're moving in the right direction. And I just want to see Billy Swails completed timely. The other big thing is Highway 41. I live in Rivertown, so I've been in Rivertown since 2004. I've lived in all parts of Mount Pleasant my entire life. 41 is a big thing for me because I live it every day. I sit in that traffic, and the current plan has got a lot of issues. And I think one of the things we have to do is get a council that can go back to the table with Charleston County and see what we can do to work as a municipality and a county to come up with something that would work for everyone, the Phillips community and the residents of Mount Pleasant. At the end of the day, we're all residents of Charleston County. And I think just finding a consensus and a way to do it that will work for everybody and hopefully resolve some of our traffic problems in that section of town is key.
In 1982, it was East Cooper Magazine. Now it's Mount Pleasant Magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine is about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Your community, your magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
And if elected, what are your top priorities for Mount Pleasant in terms of quality of life?
I run off three key issues. Number one is focusing on your core services that your tax dollars pay for. And when I say that, I'm talking about police, fire, public services, your sanitation, your planning, your transportation, and recreation. Everybody pays tax dollars for their home in the town of Mount Pleasant. And the first thing you expect is to receive those quality services you pay your tax dollars for. Those quality services also have a direct impact on everything. And when I say that, you need to make sure you have the best staff, that they're fully funded and they're fully equipped. That not only goes for your public safety as far as your fire and police, making sure we have the best people and they have the best equipment, but also goes back to your planning department. When you hear people complaining about the growth and the things that are being built in the town of Mount Pleasant, that's a direct reflection of your planning department. So I think you need to have staff there. Transportation department, town of Mount Pleasant, same thing. Let's have the best people there, and retaining the best people is key. Those are the people that are working on our traffic situations, that help me work on the left turn signal for the corner of Rivertown Parkway and Highway 41. Everybody moves to Mount Pleasant because it's a beautiful place to live. And so I'm big on making sure that we have a lot of green space and that we improve our parks and improve our recreational offerings in town of Mount Pleasant. So focusing on those core services with your tax dollars, doing it in a way that actually provides the most citizen input, shows accountability, shows transparency, and do it at fiscally responsible. That's number one for me. Number two, aligning zoning decisions with infrastructure and livability. When you make zoning decisions, they need to take into account the infrastructures in place or what needs to be done to infrastructure, because that affects our traffic. And when I come down to the livability part, is we need to make sure things fit for the town of Mount Pleasant when zoning is being put in place. So does it provide a business service for people for the town of Mount Pleasant? Does it provide housing for the people in Mount Pleasant? And how do we just make sure that it fits with Mount Pleasant? And the last thing is protecting what makes Mount Pleasant special. Our natural landscape, our waters, our marshes, our history, Shim Creek, those type of things. That's what makes Mount Pleasant special. And we need to make sure that we protect those things. And that's one thing I'll strive to do as somebody that grew up in this town. I've had the pleasure of watching it grow. And I remember a lot of things that were instrumental in making Mount Pleasant what it was and the history of Mount Pleasant. And I want to make sure we protect that as well.
And ultimately, Perry, what do you believe sets you apart from other candidates, and why should voters vote for you?
I looked at running for council as kind of a job interview. And that's why I wouldn't hire anybody to work for me that's not qualified for a job. And so that's why I spent the past 5 years educating myself, being involved, getting an understanding of this. And I'm not saying there's people that decide to run that aren't very qualified to do the job, but I just personally felt like I needed to understand it, and I needed to know what I was up against. I needed to understand our form of government. I needed to understand the players, the people that work for our town, and be able to listen to the citizens over the past 5 years and focus on what I am hearing that is important to them. That, to me, I think spending the past 5 years educating myself and speaking to residents and being involved in our local government in every way I could, I think that is one of the keys. And I think that kind of sets me apart from some of the other candidates. And I've had the opportunity to learn about a lot of issues and where we are. It's as far as Rifle Range Road Park and Highway 41 and the other issues that are facing the town of Mount Pleasant. Being at council meetings and committee meetings, you learn a lot. I think it's great now that committee meetings are actually televised now, and I commend council for getting that done. I think Councilman Icafano and Brownstein did a great job of getting that out there so residents that can't break loose on a Monday from work can actually go back and watch committee meetings, because that's where government kind of starts in the town of Mount Pleasant. It starts at committee level and moves to the council level. So I think it's great that residents can view those. They can review our BOZA and our Board of Zoning Appeals and our Planning Commission meetings now. I think it's key for residents to see that. I love that transparency. And I think it also gets citizens more involved. It gets them more interested, and it gets them to attend council meetings. I love it when we see a packed house at a council meeting. That means we got citizens that are listening and wanting to be involved and provide some input into what's going on to their town and their government. I think that is the key to it, is how do we bring citizens in, hear from them. And I don't think you can govern without listening to your constituents. That is the key, is you've got to listen to the people that put you up there.
Just a reminder for the folks at home, Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. And remember, folks, the conversation continues at MountPleasantPodcast.com. Perry, really appreciate your time, and best of luck with the coming election.
Well, I appreciate the time. Great speaking with you today. And again, you can check out my webpage, and there's a contact information on that webpage. It's www.voteperryrourk.com. If people want to learn more about my campaign, I'm always happy to pick up the phone and talk to anybody. So if you have questions for me, feel free to reach out. And I hope I can earn everyone's vote on November 4th.
All right, sir. Take care now.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast. Your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at MountPleasantPodcast.com.